have a lot more confidence in yourself and trust yourself. I was a very shy, insecure person for the longest time. So that would be one thing. And just be kind to yourself. I'm an overachiever. I'm a perfectionist. Like everything has to be done to a T. Otherwise, I'm not happy at all and I won't do it. So I feel like even for me, I would tell myself to just like relax a little bit and like don't take everything to heart. People don't always grow up in the healthiest situations. I myself did not grow up in the healthiest situation. And I feel like that affected me a lot growing up. So I feel like for me, I'd also be like, take it to heart, but don't let it break you. And I think that's something really hard for me to say now because obviously hindsight is 2020. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I would definitely be like, just hang in there. You're doing great, sweetie. I just want to let her know you're doing great.
It's Johnny Late Night! And now here's your host, Johnny Rogers! Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 64 of the Johnny Rogers Show. It's a podcast, but it's also a YouTube show, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss out on another episode. My guest today I met way back working at the studios, the Top 10 Studios, so some of you that know me from that audience will certainly remember my guest today. She's an actress and YouTuber, and we also got a lot into like motivation and what's not motivating her and what is motivating her, and we talked a lot. It felt like a little therapy session, but I feel like we both kind of needed that. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Without any further delay, please give it up for my friend and yours, Ayman Hasan.
I feel like that word is an enigma. Like for so long, I've been trying to figure out if motivation is real or not. And I really don't know. Like I've done so much research. Like some people are like, oh no, motivation isn't real. First, you have to do whatever task it is. Then from that, oh, that will inspire you to continue doing it and making it habit. Like there's no motivation there. It's just about you doing it. And I was like, what? And I was like, but how am I? It's like the chicken and the egg. Like, how am I meant to go do a task to gain motivation from doing the task when I don't even have motivation to do a task? Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
that feeds into literally everything. May it be content, may it be like applying for jobs, may it be like literally daily tasks like let's do laundry, let's do this. I'm like, where's the motivation? Where is it? You know what I mean? So I feel
Yeah.
like that's something I have been struggling with.
Like finding your own motivation for things you want to do.
That and also like, is it truly real? Like I have tried everything.
Mm.
Like I will even do no, honestly, like I'll do the task. Like say like I'm really not in the mood to go to the gym. I'll be like, I'll go to the gym, that'll give me motivation. And I go to the gym and it's a great time, but it's like, does that motivate me to go to the gym again? No. Like I have to be on my ass and be like, oh, go to the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I
So
figured like I think motivation it's just like it's in waves, right? And it's not always so direct. Like I get motivation to go get that thing done. The other lying motivation could just be like I want to be healthy and live longer. That's my motivation. So I think
mhm,
motivation is really what's the word? Kind of like such a subjective thing, right? Like not the
mhm,
same thing doesn't motivate every single person no matter what. It's
yeah.
people really, I think aside from motivation, I think everything that drives like us completing a task is just how much do you prioritize that thing, and like what do you prioritize in your life that's like this is important to me over this. And some people,
Mhm.
they prioritize like unhealthy decisions, right? Like I have a Coke and a vape in front of me. I am very aware of my unhealthy priorities that I put in front of myself. But it's like maybe if I started, like I'm trying to think of an example. My teeth started falling out of my head. I'm like, that's a
Mhm.
motivation to stop eating sugar,
No, literally. But I feel like even the stakes can be super high for me. And like, it will be like pulling teeth to get something done. Like, for example, I'll give you a very, very intense example, right? So my parents, when I came back from Pakistan, my parents gave me an ultimatum. Either get your shit together by the time we come in December, which is on the horizon, or like we're gonna literally, or we're gonna bring you back to Pakistan. That option, like that's not something I ever want to do, right? Like I have done my time, I've lived there for 8 months, can't do it anymore. But it's like, think about that. Like the stakes of me really not wanting to go back really should propel me and motivate me to like be on the grind, be applying for jobs every single fucking day,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I've known this since May. And when did I start applying? Like maybe a month ago.
Mhm. But I think
You know
like
what
the
I?
I think again it's like a prioritizing thing. Like I don't think that it's that you lack the motivation. I think you're motivated to get this task done for the wrong reason, maybe. Because you're trying to do it
Mhm.
so that your parents are happy. So that they are
Yeah.
like, oh, she's comfortable and she's got a thing. So you're doing, I think when you're trying to complete tasks for the benefit of others, there's this like subconscious like emptiness to those activities where you're just like, I don't want to do it. And you feel like you can kind of bail on it
Mhm.
because it's not really for you. You're really not going to get like the biggest letdown from that not happening. It's going to be someone else that's going to be let down from it not happening. So you can kind of detach and push yourself. But I think when you're faced with but then again, I say that and I'm like, there's people that have been diagnosed with like, friggin' lung cancer and they're smoking cigarettes while they're
Yeah.
in the hospital so it's not always the same for everyone else, but I think motivation is like it's like everything else. It's the more you practice like motivation
Mhm.
in a sense, or like the act of allowing something to push you to get something done, or like realize the intensity of what failing at that thing might be like, that's your motivation. Kind of like the way people
Mhm.
learn differently too, right? Like visually, audio, reading, like motivation probably comes
No,
in those ways.
I 100% agree because even like what you brought up about like if it's not for you specifically, it seems like an empty task. And I feel like I very much agree. Like even say if I'm applying for jobs, I'll have like 3 hours a day where I'm applying for jobs. Like it's very like in the background, and any job app that like requires me to like write a lot, like no. Like I'm trying to easy apply to everything. I'm not trying to like,
Yeah.
here is why you should you know what I mean? But I feel like if I had that fire, if I had that guy, I'd be like, oh, this is why you should hire me. I'm brilliant.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
nah.
No,
Like,
I get that
honestly,
too. I totally get that. Like when I got out of college and I was, trying to be a cop, and I was really like, all right, I guess like now I have to, follow the blueprint, right? Like go to school,
hmm
graduate college, then go get a job in the field that you went to college for, which is what everyone was doing.
hmm
And I was just like kind of applying to agencies here and there and not really
hmm
trying, like really not trying
hmm
that hard at all, because deep down I knew it was something that I didn't want to really do. So there was nothing
yeah.
motivating me to get the job. And then I ended up like getting a couple interviews from it, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, God
You're
damn.
like, what do I say?
Yeah, like, I ended up getting so far in one interview process that I was just like, yeah, I don't actually want to do this. And then I just dropped out of the whole interview process, which I was probably, I feel bad for them for doing that because they wasted their time, going through that whole
Yeah.
process. But I mean, learning experience, right? For me to just trust my gut when I know that I want to do something over something else.
hmm No,
Have you found like
I
in the
fully
past,
agree.
like, do you have an example maybe in the past where motivation has helped you achieve something that you felt
Oh,
good about?
100%, but I feel like it also comes down to how busy you are. Like, I feel like
Mm.
the most motivated I was probably like when I was in university, like I was like, course load was super high. Like, I was in a long distance relationship. Like, I was going to the gym every day. And like, I was a demon. I was like, and I think back to that. I actually think back to that. And I'm like, I don't even know how I did that because if I had to like, do a day from that time right now, I don't even think I'd be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like have like a 2 hour like window before the next class, quickly go home and gym. Like, nah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that was me now. I'd be like, okay, let me just stay on campus, like have a coffee or something and like not, you know what I
Well,
mean? But I feel
I was gonna say, you know what? Like this was all pre-COVID, right? That the
Yeah.
demon mode, which is no, what's the Oxford Dictionary just said that goblin mode was the word
Goblin
of
mode.
the
I
word of the
literally
year or
heard that
something. I was like,
word today. I was like, have I been in goblin mode for the past 3 years now? I was like, I'm confused.
no, but I think like the I think the pandemic really made us view like a sedentary lifestyle as like this isn't so bad. And I mean, a lot of people hated it, but like you kind of had to get used to just like being in your home
Hmm.
the whole time. And just by
Hmm.
nature of just repeatedly doing that, just staying at home and figuring out how to get things done while you're at home, I think it kind of killed motivation a little bit. And you see it now with like everywhere I go, there's now hiring all positions because they can't find people to work. Nobody has the motivation to like just go work like Subway, or fucking Home Depot. So it's not
No,
I wouldn't say it's an individual thing. I say it's like it's a result of the
yeah.
pandemic.
But like it's crazy to think about it though. Like I feel like we've gone through the pandemic. I don't know, God forbid, I hope there's not another wave. I hope we're done and we're in the clear, but we don't know.
Yeah,
Okay?
we have no
Like
idea.
I literally, and like I still feel like I haven't deeped the fact that there was a pandemic. Like I feel like every day I was like, okay, let's just go through it. Like, yeah, we're on lockdown, whatever the hell. But like now that we're kind of out of it, I'm like thinking back, I'm like, what the fuck was that period? What did I achieve? You know what I mean? And even like at the start of the lockdown where everyone was like, oh, I'm gonna learn a new language, I'm gonna learn how to, play an
Yeah, yeah,
instrument.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I should totally do that too. I was like, I have nothing but time. I was like, let me learn a language. I even paid for dance classes, like online dance classes. Did one.
Online dance classes? That seems like a
Yeah, when they've
scam.
already no, like they've already like recorded the choreography
All
and they
right.
kind of teach you how to do it. But like that, I did once. The pandemic was for 2 years. I did that once for half an hour. So I was like, that's nice. um, but even that, like 100%. But I feel like our generation, like millennials, even I feel like we're very jaded. Like we never, or maybe I'm seeing for me, like I never grew up with the notion that like I had to be a doctor or a lawyer like my
Mm.
parents did. Like I feel like we very much have the like opportunity to kind of follow our dreams. Like we have like that sort of like freedom, but I feel like that's what makes us very directionless. I feel like that's also tying in with motivation. Like I feel like I don't have a direction. So what would even motivate me to go any which way or get anything done where I don't even know where I'm going with my
Yeah,
life?
yeah. Yeah, that's the hardest part about trying to like break into this world of online entertainment in a sense, right? And like there was this whole study that came out where they apparently like TikTok in China and TikTok in America and Canada very different. Like to compare the two in food, it's like TikTok in China is like a nice kale salad where there's just how-to videos and science videos and like very educational. They're only allowed to use it for like a couple hours a day and then that's it. Like it gets cut off.
Really?
And then in America, it's like the fast food version. Like you could have someone dying in one video and then like a cute puppy in the next video. That's not good.
Literally.
That's not good for our brains. Like that is not
It
good.
really isn't.
But as a result, they polled kids and kids in China, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most of them said astronaut. You do the same poll in America and it's influencer. They want to be an influencer, which is so directionless. Like couldn't be more
No,
directionless
because
than
like
influencer.
if you think of what even is an influencer, honestly, like I feel like when I started working at the studio and like I started gaining followers, I was like, am I an influencer? I was like, I don't feel like an influencer. I was like, like you post photos, it gets likes and comments, whatever. And I was like, but am I influencing anyone? I was like,
Yeah.
what is this really? You know what I mean? So even when I meet people and they're like, oh, I'm an influencer, I'm like, yeah, but what about who?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
Mm-hmm.
With what?
An influencer to me is just like a moving billboard. Like it's like whatever product
Mm,
drops into your DMs, you're an advertisement now for that product. And
mhm.
I think like the fans that came over from the studio are more just like fans of personalities. So like they just liked
Mm-hmm.
who you were on camera and were like, yeah, I want to see more, you know? So that
Yeah.
to me is the best route to go down if anyone wants to get into like online entertainment, is literally just be yourself. And it might take a long time, but eventually there's lots of people like I've come to a conclusion that I have never had an original moment in my life. There are so many times where I'm on TikTok where someone's like, anybody ever do this and this happens? And I'm like, I thought I was the only person. And it has like a
That ever
million
thought
likes
that.
on it, that
Yeah.
ever thought that ever did that as a kid, like whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's just more indication that if you're just more outwardly yourself online or whatever and being honest really about who you are, people are just going to gravitate towards that. Like they're just going to be like along for the ride, right? And then they're going to share it with other people who have similar
Mhm.
ideas and interests, and then you kind of form your tribe around yourself, basically.
Yeah. No, I feel like that's a really good point. But then on the flip side, it's like entertainment is a double-edged sword because it's so saturated. Anytime I hear like a fun audio for like a reel or a TikTok, I'm like, oh, that's fucking hilarious. Like I know exactly like how I would make that video. But then you go on the audio and it's like 50 people have already made that video that you had an idea for. And it's like, okay, so should I also make a video in case mine is different? Like
Yeah, yeah.
then it also like like it's daunting. Then you're like, oh, should I even get into it? Like it's already up there. Like, are even people gonna find this funny because they've
Hmm.
already seen it 50 times? You know what I mean?
There's a really good
But
book
I
that you should read called The War of Art, by Stephen
Oh yeah,
Pressfield.
I've heard of it.
My God,
I've heard of it.
I heard him recently too on a podcast talk about the exactly what you're saying, because I think the same thing when it comes to everything that I do as well, right? You go through those thoughts of like I write a joke and I'm like, are people going to find this funny? Is it going to get across? Am I going to deliver it okay? Like, is this dangerous for me to be saying? Whatever it is, right? Like whatever the material is that I want to create. But that like
Mhm.
that worry and anxiety is literally just that. I mean, he calls it resistance, but resistance kind of manifests itself in ways of like worrying and anxiety, because what they do is
Mhm.
it's like your mind preparing your body for what failure is going to feel like, whatever you
Mhm.
view failure as, right? So all you need to do is realize that whatever your brain is like, that like kind of second voice that's almost like a childhood bully that's like, no one's going to like
Yeah.
that, that's a stupid
Yeah.
idea, right? That's resistance. That's resistance trying to shut something down because it's scared of failing. So if you like
Mhm.
take, whenever you have those thoughts of like, everyone else is doing this, like, is mine going to be any different? Is it going to be any better? That means you have to do that thing. You have to just make that piece of content
Really?
and go towards the thing that your brain is telling you, like, no one's going to like this. Like, this is stupid. Because it's saturated when you, as a creator, you look at it as a whole, but you have to remember that it's only your followers that are just seeing what you post. No one's really going to be like, I saw so and so
Yeah.
do this 2 seconds. You're like, okay, and like, all right. And your point is, I did it too, as it was
Yeah.
fun, like,
Yeah.
or
No,
make
I
fun
think
of
that's
those
a really
people,
good point. Yeah. No, I think that is a really good point actually. Because I feel like, oh, like with being in the online, I feel like I realize it's all about consistency. Everything is about consistency. Like you look at Charlotte, you look at Joss, like they're just constantly pumping it out day after day. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So like that's, and even that, I also realized like that within myself. For example, like I listen to podcasts every night before I go to bed, and like I have like favorite podcasts that like I know exactly the day the episode is coming out. And like on days, like on a week where the episode has not come out on Tuesday, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm
Yeah,
like, how
yeah.
could they do this to me? Like I've literally been waiting for part two of this episode. And then I brought it back to like me, like I'm probably the least like I'm such an inconsistent content creator. It's crazy. Like the last like video I posted was 2 months ago, and I was like, dude, if I was one of my subscribers, I'd hate me. I'd literally hate me. So I was like, I really fully get like the grind of consistency, and I really have to get on that, honestly. Like that's where it's at. But then
Well,
also with that, it's like, oh no, continue.
no, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
I was gonna say, even with consistency, like with acting, for example, I've always wanted to act, and it's like, how much of my brain, how much of my brain, my body effort, like, do I want to put into this in case, like, what if it doesn't go my way? Like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to be. I'm 25 right now. Say I don't want to be like 29, still like not having done anything to do with acting, and I haven't had any like I've had jobs, but like not no like sort of career that I can be like, oh, it's fine. Like if acting doesn't work out, I'll just like go
Mm-hmm.
up in this career path. You know what I mean? So it's so daunting. Like even with YouTube, I was like, should I not get a full-time job and like be making videos every single day? And like eventually like I'll do really well. But it's like, do I want to take the entertainment risk? Do I want to take the risk of following my passions versus like a stable life? Because I feel like that's become very important for me. Like I was always the kind of person that was like, no, fuck like the norm. I want to like pursue what I want to pursue no matter what. And even my parents were always on my wave. Like they're like, you want to act, go fucking act. Like do whatever you want. But like now I'm like, everything is so fucking expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So expensive. I'm like, do I genuinely want to follow my passion? And I feel like also like being like having fun at the job you're at, I feel like that's also a myth to a degree. Like I used to always be
Yeah.
like, I can't have a job that I'm not happy doing. But right now I'm like, I kind of just want to have a job that is able to fund the kind of lifestyle I want for myself. So I was like, am I maturing or am I just giving up on my dreams?
No, you're not giving
You
up
know what
on
I
your
mean?
dreams. Like, as someone who just turned 31 and put my 20s truly behind me, I realized that, like, in my 20s, I kept being like, everything needs to happen right now. And if it doesn't happen right now, I'm a failure. And so I tried to do a million things at once. I was going to acting auditions, I was doing stand up comedy, I did like 3 podcasts that like didn't go anywhere. Like I started working at the studio thinking, okay, maybe this is a way that I can like, grow my following and start building this thing. And then I
Mm-hmm.
realized I was like, oh, like I still am not really, I've acquired new skills, but in my own mind, I don't feel any further ahead from where I was before. But I know that that's not true. But I think we always have that kind of
Mm-hmm.
mindset of like, you need to just keep pushing yourself to get those higher and higher heights, which is perfect if you want to be in entertainment because, you want to keep raising the bar on your level of
Mm-hmm.
creativity and your level of taste for things. But I totally get what you're saying. But at the end of the day,
Sorry.
we'll just
It
cut
was
to an ad
coming.
right
I knew.
there.
Yeah.
I'll just chop in an ad. No, I was saying I totally get what you're saying, but like reality is I don't really believe in this like be a starving artist or like you need to be suffering in order to make like good art. I don't really believe that. I think like make sure your head is above water, Like
Yeah.
do you have food in like get a job that gets food in your fridge,
Yeah.
keeps the lights on, like appeases your parents, whatever it is, and then you only work for 8 hours. There's so much other time that you can spend, like even if you spend an hour after work writing video ideas or
Mhm.
coming up with different things that you want to do, or even just like looking up acting classes and take an acting class once a week is just like a thing to do on the side. Like like hated working at the studio like really towards the end, but I during the pandemic I chose doubling down on like being like staying and working for them still because I was like, oh, these are all skills that I can like use as that kind of backup. I don't want to call it a
Mhm.
backup. I want to call it like I think it's someone coined the term and they called it like a shadow career. So it's not
Okay.
really what you want to be doing, but it's similar. So you're at least
Okay.
still working in the same like my whole job now is
Mhm.
just like handling, YouTube and Facebook and Snapchat for this other studio and for Paradigm Studios. I don't know why I'm like hiding the name, but for Paradigm Studios,
These other studios.
these other studios, and I love it because like it's just making my kind of skills in that world better, which I'm gonna end up using for my own channel because ultimately that's what I want to grow is my own channel,
Mhm.
right? So it is help if you can find something like that that helps you move towards like
Mhm.
say if you're like fuck YouTube, fuck all that stuff, I just want to be like an actor, then like work at
Mhm.
a casting agency or do background acting or
Mm-hmm.
you could in Toronto you could live off of background acting. There's that much stuff
Really?
that's being filmed. And then once you get like actor apprentice, you get like even more money for just sitting in the back, like just chilling.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Like you're like, really? People are getting paid for this? Like how much are they spending?
Um,
Damn. It's like you
it's like,
found out
what's
about a
your job?
scam. I'm a blurry
What's your job?
face.
Like, yeah, I'm a professional chiller,
Yeah,
and I
I'm
get paid a
professional.
lot for it.
They feed me and everything. Yeah, I think that's the move. Instead of like, getting an office job that you like can't, you still have to kind of like what you're doing, or at least like the people you work with.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But I feel like even with a job, like, yes, it's only 8 hours a day, but it's like, how much energy do you personally have? Like, it totally varies from person to person, right? Like, do they have like mental health problems that, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
contribute to them, like, not having that much energy? Like, for example, me, like, I suffer from really bad depression. Like, when I used to work at the studio, I would come home, I would nap till like 11 p.m. I'd go to the gym and that was my day. I was like, I literally don't have anything left in me to like even put it anywhere else. I was
Mm.
like, the gym is the only thing I can do. I'm gonna just do it. You know what I mean? So I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's what it's definitely worrying for like people like who have really bad depression. It's like it's very tough. Like sometimes like the bare minimum of just going to work and coming back is sometimes all I can do. So like that also worries me a lot, right? Because it's like, oh, like can I even trust myself to get these things done that I
Mm-hmm.
really want to do? You know what I mean? Like it is tough. And like I feel like people always forget. Like I always like my family, like my sisters, obviously like they're so understanding and whatnot, but like sometimes I'm just like, do people think like I'm using this as an excuse? Like, do people think like I'm
Yeah.
using this as an excuse to be lazy or complacent? Like, anytime they're like, oh, but why don't you just do it? It's like, oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
you haven't thought about you fucking prick. Like, just do
Yeah.
it. Like, don't be sad. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm cured. Like, no, that's really not how it works. Like, at all. Like, there'll be like 6 days where like there's 0%, and then the one day like you have 50% energy. You're like, okay, let's bang it out. And what you're
Mm-hmm.
banging out is probably like doing groceries for the week or laundry. So like
Yeah.
life's tough out here.
And that's what happens though. Like I feel like depression is getting treated like looked at more seriously, and like I definitely have had large bouts with depression of like a feeling of not good enough or whatever it might be, like the feeling of just no motivation, you know what I mean, like a weekend and I don't even want to move from the bed, but it's all these other factors, I think, personally catching up with me that I didn't prioritize, right? Like I think I
Hmm.
would have more energy if I prioritized working out more, right? I think I would have more
Hmm.
energy in the morning if I prioritized having less coffees throughout the day. Like it's just
Hmm.
receipts for bad behavior, in my opinion. It causes like a chemical imbalance happens in the brain, and then the result is like a depression episode, basically. And then even the worst part is they all kind of get intermixed with each other, because like you're going through depression, and while you're having depression your anxiety is
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 up as well.
going
And you're
nuts. Your anxiety is running around the fucking room being like, oh, what if people don't think that I'm actually depressed? And now you have depression
no,
and anxiety
literally.
hitting you at once. It's not fun. It's not a fun bout at all to go through, and I don't have the answers of how to get out of it, right? Like some people take medicine and it helps them and they feel better. Other
Hmm.
people swear against that and they would say never take
Hmm.
pharmaceuticals, just go get vitamin D or whatever. I think
Okay,
language is a big
firstly,
thing. I think
get
language and
vitamin D.
self-talk though is like a
Hmm.
big part of it. I think the more that we say out loud about ourselves, the more it becomes part of our personality. Like if I just kept saying for weeks to every person I met, like, I'm a runner, and I just kept telling them that I'm a runner, I would eventually be like, okay, I'm a runner, so I guess I have to go for a run every day after work, because I'm telling everyone this is my identity and I'm building it
Hmm.
up and I don't want to disappoint people.
Hmm.
And then the motivation comes
Hmm.
there. When I was quitting cigarettes, I stopped saying I'm trying to quit as I was weaning off of them,
Hmm.
because trying gave too much room for like failure. Well, I was trying and it
Yeah.
didn't work, so I tried, but I just
So
said,
let me have one.
yeah, I'm like, I don't smoke. I don't smoke. I'm a non-smoker
Hmm.
in cigarette form,
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
helped, and honestly, I think it helped.
No, I think like accountability is super important. 100%. Like I always like it's always nice to like have like a workout buddy or like even just someone that's always like, oh, so what have you done today? Like what are your plans? Like I feel like my siblings are very good with that. They're always like, so what have you achieved today, Eamon? And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's like it's not that good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So accountability is definitely something that's really important. But I feel like when you also live alone, that can be very difficult as well, because there's only so much that external people can hold you accountable. Like you
Hmm.
really have to deep these things to like hold yourself accountable for the things, you know what I mean? Like even at home, like no one's gonna tell me off if I have like 5 joints a day. No one's gonna tell me off if like, like I don't work out for 3 months or like I don't fucking do shit. You know what I mean? So like it's actually crazy. Even like autonomy scares me. I'm like, dude, I'm just here. I'm in this. I'm really in this. And I could just like throw my cat off the balcony, for example, if I really wanted to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Like
No, I've had those exact thoughts. Not throwing the cat off the balcony, but like the fact that
I would never.
I always get the craziest feeling whenever I'm driving on the highway, because I'm like, how does this work? How do we all just decide that we're not going to be a psycho and just turn into the car next to us at 100 kilometers an hour? Like every single person,
Literally.
all these cars are just like, we're on the same page. We all drive in a straight line at this speed, and if the car's too close to you, you slow down, you get over. Like it just works, and it's absolutely mind-boggling that we as humans like could see this potential in what you could do with your human body and just decide to not do that evil shit.
Literally, like we actually have the option to choose chaos every day and we don't, which is really
Yeah,
weird.
that needs to be on a t-shirt. I have the option to choose chaos every day, and on the back says, and I don't.
But I don't.
But I don't.
1 second, I
Yeah.
just need to blow my nose real
Yeah,
quick.
go for it.
Just a second.
Hey everybody, Johnny here. Just want to take a quick second to thank our newest Patreon subscriber, CLB. I appreciate your support, and because you are subscribed to the show for just $1 a month, you're getting this episode before anyone else. If you want to be cool like CLB, head to patreon.com/TheJohnnyRogers and join in on the fun. All right, now back to the episode. People are like, damn it, I got to subscribe to this Patreon. Find out what's going on over there. Yeah, shit. No, I totally get what you mean. Like being a creative person, you're kind of like also your own worst boss. Like you give yourself shit for not getting stuff done, but then you're also the employee who's not doing anything. It's the
And then you as
worst.
a
It's the
boss, you're
worst
like,
relationship.
take a day off.
Yeah, you're
You
like, you
deserve a day
fucking
off.
earned it. Yeah, relax. Shut the brain off for a little bit. Shut it
I'm
down.
doing nothing. Like I've
Yeah.
done nothing. You deserve a day off. You know
It's
what I mean? Like,
such a
oh,
balance though between like I find being kind to yourself, like I always tell myself like don't be so hard on yourself. Like it's not that serious, Like real
mm,
stakes, real life stakes are I don't know like what I'm going to eat tonight. In terms of like I don't have enough money to buy food. Like I don't know I
yeah,
can't afford a meal. Those are real life stakes where you should be kind of on yourself. Okay, like survival mode. Let's go into
yeah,
it. But I
yeah,
feel like our brain like clicks into that survival mode so often when the stakes have never been lower. Like it's just a
yeah.
goal. There's just a goal that we're not achieving, and we go into survival mode. Like we gotta get this goal, we gotta do this thing, and we're
Yeah.
gonna die. It's like you're not gonna die. Like don't be hard on yourself. Do it tomorrow. Like if the day
No,
does not permit
literally.
doing it, just plan to do it another day.
I fully agree. But then on the flip side of that, there's always tomorrow. Even
Of
tomorrow
course,
has a
yeah.
tomorrow.
That's what I mean.
You know
There's
what I mean?
balance. Even tomorrow has a tomorrow.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of tomorrows in this time.
Yeah. No, no, I feel that. That's what I mean. Like, there's the balance of like accountability and also not being like a drill sergeant with yourself as well. Like, kind of
No,
giving
a hundred
yourself
percent.
some leeway.
Like I even remember like I was talking to the psychiatrist about this because at that point I didn't even know I had anxiety. Like I'd never known. I was like, oh, I'm just very depressed. And she's like, oh no, like you have anxiety. I was like, huh? I was like, what do you mean by that? And she was like, no, like obviously, like when you have depression, anxiety, and you're constantly like, oh, I'm down and I haven't done this, and your anxiety's like, oh, why the fuck haven't you done this? You're going nowhere in life. Like all this, you become so aggressively overcritical about yourself that she was like, this is the first time I'd heard it, and it was so dumb. She was like, it's okay to take some time off. She was like, it's okay. Like, if you just want to, like, if you're experiencing burnout and like you just want to take time to yourself for like 2-3 months, that's okay. And I'm like, but it's not. Because I was like, if I don't do anything for these 2-3 months, like, where am I even going in life? I was like, what's the point? And she was like, no, that's not really how it works. And I'm like, oh, I was like, right. I was
Yeah.
like, interesting.
Because we think life is linear, right? Like we think like if I do enough work throughout this time, I'll get to this goal at the end of it at this certain period of my
Yeah.
life. It doesn't work that way. Like sometimes shit just happens all at once at one random age, just completely random. And so, yeah, taking a couple months to make sure that your mind is in a good spot and you're not
Mm-hmm.
feeling that burnout is an okay thing to do because again, on the grand scheme of things, you know, 100 years ago is like a blip in the time span of like how long life
Yeah.
has been existing, right? So a couple months is literally
No,
nothing
literally, and
in your whole
that's
life.
exactly what she told.
Yeah.
That's literally word for word what she told me as well. She was like, "You have a long life. 2 months is not going to kill you." And I was like, "You're right. It won't." That's a good one.
Shit. So do you have anything that like you're I don't know, like I'm trying to think because I saw on your channel that you had some true crime stuff. You've done like
Hmm.
reactions to outfits. Is there one of those things that sticks out that you have the most fun with like doing?
It's really weird. So, like, actually, the thing I have most fun doing is reacting to K-pop music videos. Like, that's so fucking fun for me. Like, I love K-pop. I listen to that shit day in, day out. I'm all about K-dramas. But it's so hard because, like, for me personally, anytime a new song comes out from any artist, I'm always there. I'm like, let's watch the music video. Let's see how it is. But I feel like that's not really content I can do because, like, that's not really something my subscribers are into. You know
Fuck
what I
them.
mean? Like, no.
Let them
What do
unsubscribe.
you mean?
You know, like who cares? I would go all in on K-pop. I would just be only doing K-pop stuff if that's like what brings you the most joy. And again, like people are just gonna naturally want to watch you react to something, and if it happens to be K-pop, they're like, I guess we're watching K-pop. And now you're just
Yeah, they're
creating
like,
all
I
these
guess
new
that's what it
K-pop
is.
fans. Yeah. It is what it is. Like if they don't like it, there's a billion other channels that they can go watch that specific content, right? I think that's what makes consistency easier is when you're doing something that you like really
Hmm.
enjoy. One question that, because we're getting on time here, that I love
Hmm.
asking my guests
Hmm.
is if you can make a phone call to 15-year-old Eamon and give her a piece of advice based on what you know now, knowing that it would not affect your current timeline, but what piece of
Okay.
advice would you give
If I was 15, oh, that's so tough. I've been through so much.
her?
Like literally. Oh, I think I would definitely say have a I would be like have a lot more confidence in yourself and trust yourself. I was a very shy, insecure person for the longest time. So that would be one thing. And just be kind to yourself. I'm a very like I'm an overachiever. I'm a perfectionist. Like everything has to be done to a T. Otherwise, I'm not happy at all and I won't do it. So I feel like even for me, I would tell myself to just like relax a little bit and like don't take everything to heart. Like people don't always grow up in the healthiest situations. I myself did not grow up in the healthiest situation. And I feel like that affected me a lot growing up. So I feel like for me, I'd also be like, take it to heart, but don't let it break you. And I think that's something really hard for me to say now because obviously hindsight is 2020. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would definitely be like, just hang in there. You're doing great, sweetie. I just want to let her know you're doing great.
You have so much left to give. Just for the people watching on YouTube, thank you. Go follow Ayman on Instagram, Ayman Hasan, with an extra N on the end. What's your YouTube? Ayman Hasan 921 and Ames Hassan on Twitter as well. The links are always in the description. You guys know what the deal is. Ayman, thank you so much for making the time. We finally did it. Next time we'll get an even longer episode out without the technical difficulties and scheduling. Yeah. Do you have any parting words for the Johnny Rogers Show audience?
Johnny is great. I have known him for many years, and I feel like people think you're very funny, and you are very funny, but you're actually very, very like smart and empathetic, and I feel like you conduct yourself really well. And I just want to give you props for that.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. I was like, you're a good outgoing personality. Thanks, Ayman. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, people. And have a great night, Ayman. I'll send you this link whenever it's up.
Okay, thank you.
Bye,
guys.
You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.